Hi, this is Teacher Wright, and welcome to another lesson in creative nonfiction. Lesson 6, Writing Personal Narratives. Objectives. At the end of this lesson, the learner should be able to 1. Define and differentiate the various forms of personal narratives. 2. Write a draft of creative nonfiction piece based on memorable real-life experience. 3. Discern the importance of autobiographical writing in highlighting one's real-life experiences. Part 1. Activation of prior knowledge. So we will have an activity, and this is called Scramble Crambles. You only have to unscramble the following sets of letters to form terms related to forms of creative nonfiction. Number 1. Clue. It portrays the experiences of all events occurring in the life of a person. So the answer is biography. Number 2. Clue. It is a piece of writing about travel. If you answered travelogue, then you are correct. Number 3. Clue. It came from a French word that means memory or reminiscence. And the answer is memoir. Now, what is an autobiography and how is it different from a biography? An autobiography is the life story of a person written by no other but himself, while a biography is the life story of a certain person, usually very influential or popular, written by another person. So we will have an activity. You're going to recall and name 3 events in your lives. Then decide which one could be an interesting topic for an autobiography in our succeeding activity. And now let's proceed to another question. What is the importance of autobiographical writing in highlighting one's real-life experiences? You can have varied answers on this. And examples are: autobiographical writing is important or is valuable in highlighting one's real-life experiences because it can give us an opportunity to introspect. Another, as we write significant events in our lives, we are able to reflect on them and make corrections in ourselves or our actions in the past. We become aware of ourselves and our mistakes so we can do something about it, to prevent us from making the same mistakes over and over again. Or we can look back at so many wonderful moments and be grateful for them. And another answer is, by writing our life story, we come to know more about ourselves. So those are just sample answers to this question. So now let's proceed to our subject matter, personal narratives. So what are personal narratives? This can be something written for private enjoyment, or it could be something that is intended to be shared to inspire or inform others. This brings to life a memorable event and tells how the writer felt about that experience. There are forms of personal narrative. These are the forms of personal narrative. We have the autobiography, memoirs, and reflective essays. An autobiography is a true self-written life story. It usually covers more of your life and may contain many elements which are also present in a short story, such as dialogue, description, and incidents developed in chronological order. Requisite skills for autobiographical writing. Number 1, Write down key points to share. List down first what ideas you would like to share, but make sure you will not bore your readers. Think of the details that are personal that only you can tell about. Number 2, identify the purpose of writing. As an author, you should keep in mind, why are you sharing your life experiences? Would you like to inform, to inspire, or to influence? Number 3, create a timeline of events. It would help you draft your autobiography if you have a timeline of events. For example, if you want to share significant experiences since you were in your elementary grades, you may want to share, or you may want to start with the year you enrolled as grade 1, then grade 2, grade 3, and so on. Number 4, do an outline. The process of any writing starts with a draft. It is very helpful if you have an outline of what details you will be sharing or how you will be unfolding the events. Number 5, make the story more credible by using names, places, and dates. So keep in mind that facts make nonfiction different from fiction. The names, places, and dates make the nonfiction not only interesting but realistic. Number 6, use descriptive details and dialogues. The details and dialogues make your write-up interesting, vivid, and lifelike. The next form of a personal narrative is the memoir or memoirs. So memoirs are a collection of memories that someone writes about his or her own life. The definition of a memoir is very similar to that of an autobiography. However, an autobiography can cover an entire span of a life, whereas a memoir is usually centered on a specific part of a life. For example, an important turning point in a person's life, a particularly memorable story, or group of touchstone events. Requisite skills for writing memoirs. Number 1, put your audience in your shoes. There goes a rule of the thumb line in writing any effective article. Show, do not tell. Instead of telling your reader that you were born in the month of December, for example, you might say, I was born when the chilly air wafted the aroma cooked ham in the tunes of jingle bells and the like. So it's also important that your audience feels what you felt that time. Number 2, have an overarching theme. So what else separates autobiography from a memoir is that a memoir is thematic. When writing a memoir, keep in mind that what your predominant theme be. So that there's like a guide for your readers so they don't get lost. So there's a recurrent theme on your write-up. Number 3, add the impact in your life today. Since a memoir is reminiscing a life-changing experience, it must have an impact in your present or on what you are right now. Number 4, avoid chronology. So chronology is one of the features of autobiography but not of memoir. So in writing a memoir, you can apply some of the techniques in writing a plot, like the flashback and juxtaposition. So you can begin your story in the middle of your life, or at the end, or at the most recent, and then you go back to the day that you were born, like that. Number 5, do not lie. Facts make fiction a non-fiction. Since personal narratives capitalize on facts as a writer, you should include only the facts. So I hope we're clear with that. Because we're writing creative nonfiction. Although it is creative in a way because you use your imagination and you use figurative languages, but then we must stick to the realistic side of the story. So it must be real, it must be based on fact. And number 6, do not lose your voice. It is believed that a write-up mirrors its author. So you pen down yourself, your personality, your attitude, your tone towards your subject. So a writer is like an artist also, or a painter who paints on a canvas. and the output reflects the personality of that painter. So the same goes with the writer. So when we write, we make sure that we don't lose our voice, because what we write is us. It reflects us, our personality, and who we are. The third form of personal narrative is the reflective essay. So what is a reflective essay? This is an analytical practice in which the writer describes a real scene, event, passing thought, memory, or interaction, and adding a personal reflection on the meaning of the incident in his or her life. It is similar to a journal entry, only that it requires better coherence, structure, and mechanics. It constitutes a critical examination of a life experience. So, during this pandemic, so this is a good time to write reflective essays. What is this pandemic about? Is it all about the negative side? So you can also write about the positive side of this pandemic. Like when you stayed at home, you got to bond with your family, you got more time to reflect on life, on yourself, how to make improvements, like so on and so forth. Requisite skills for writing reflective essays. Here are the guide questions for writing reflective essays. Number 1. What have you learned about yourself as a result of the experience? Number 2. Have you developed because of it? How? Number 3. Did it have any positive or negative bearing on your life? Number 4. Looking back, what would you have done differently? Number 5. Why do you think you made the particular choices that you did? Do you think these were the right choices? And number 6, what are your thoughts on the experience in general? So did it help you to become a better person? What are the skills or perspectives you have gained from that experience? Now let's go to the third part of this lesson, and this is the application part. Let's sum it up. So this is just a sort of a review. What is a personal narrative? As we have mentioned earlier in this lesson, a personal narrative can be something written for private enjoyment, or it could be something that is intended to be shared to inspire or inform others. What is the difference between an autobiography and a memoir? So the answer is, so an autobiography can cover an entire span of a life, whereas a memoir is usually centered on a specific part of a life. For example, an important turning point in a person's life, a particularly memorable story, or a touchstone event. And now let's answer activity 4. And the title of this activity is The Journey of My Life. So going back to the activity in the beginning part of this lesson, wherein I asked you to recall and decide which is the, you recall 3 important events in your life, and you decide which one is a good topic for writing an autobiography. So this time we're going to apply that in this activity. So you recall that specific event in your life, and then you're going to plot out the events of your life using the template. So you can answer this in a yellow pad or in a bond paper. You can have some illustrations like this. You can sketch, and then you're going to plot out as far as you can remember, from 0 to 3 years old, like from your birthday, the day you were born, and the memories that you can remember that time until you reached the kindergarten. Then you went to elementary school, junior high school, and now the most recent one, which is the senior high school. And for the final output of this lesson, we will answer activity 7. And the title of this activity is Nostalgia, a story from the heart. So you are going to decide on a medium to use. So I'll give you the freedom to choose the medium that you're going to use in writing your your narrative. So it can be in English, in Filipino, or in vernacular, wherever you are comfortable in expressing yourself. So after you have decided on your medium to use, you're going to write your chosen narrative. It can be your autobiography, a memoir, or a reflective essay. And number 3, you may computerize or handwrite your output. So if you have the luxury of a computer and a printer in your own home, so you can computerize that. But if it's quite hard or impossible for you to have it computerized, then you can also handwrite it on a yellow pad paper. Here ends our lesson 6 in creative nonfiction. See you on the next videos. Bye! For free downloadable worksheets, PPT, and detailed lesson plan, see description below.